Year 6, this is your maths lesson for Tuesday the 19th of January. So now we're going to use our knowledge of equivalent fractions and simplifying fractions to now compare fractions. So basically to have a think about which one is bigger than the other. And when we're doing that, we use the greater than and less than signs. I never understood these as a child until somebody told me this little trick about the greedy crocodile always eating the biggest portion. That's the only way that I can remember it. I hope that helps you. Also, something that I wanted to show you was in your study books, pages 30 and 31 are a really good couple of pages to be having a go at. So this is the pages from your study book. I did put this in the description underneath the video. Okay, so now the wonderful Mrs. Stubbs is going to give us a little bit of an explanation about how you might like to be comparing fractions. Thank you, Mrs. Stubbs.
Okay, well, Year 6. Sometimes when you're comparing two fractions, it's actually quite easy. For example, I've written here a half or 3/4. Now, because I can visualise this in my mind, I could draw a diagram. Actually, you know, if somebody said to me, would you rather have half a chocolate cake or 3/4 of a chocolate cake, I know what my answer would be. Unless I was on a diet, of course. So here we are. Here's my half. Here's my 3/4. And straight away, you can actually see that the 3/4 is a larger fraction than the half of this whole, of this size. So I'm going to put my crocodile's mouth in, and as Mrs. Ford said, the greedy crocodile eats the biggest fraction here. So here we are, a half is less than 3/4. Now that's, you know, it's not too bad when you can actually picture it. Sometimes the fractions might be slightly harder, but before that I've done one that's also quite easy to compare. Here we've got the denominators are the same, so this one again is quite simple. I've got 7/8 and I've got 5/8. Well, obviously 7/8 will be a larger fraction of something than 5/8 of something. So again, my crocodile's mouth is going to go this way because 7/8 is greater than 5/8. So that one again was quite easy, not because I could visualise it that easily, but just because my denominators are the same, so they're quite easy to compare. Now the problem comes when your denominators are different numbers. So the example I've picked is 3/4 and 5/8. Now some of you might well be able to picture this in your minds or draw diagrams. But if you can't, a way round it is to use equivalent fractions. Remember I said a few lessons ago that equivalent fractions can really help you with lots of different things when you're working out fraction problems. And this is one of those times. So I've got a denominator of 4 here, quarters, and a denominator of 8 here, eighths. I'm looking at my fractions and I'm thinking, could I make it so that my denominators are the same? Well, I could actually, because I could make this one, this 3/4 into eighths. Now, remember what I said. Okay, whatever you do to your numerator, you've got to do the same to your denominator. Now, I know that I want my denominator to be in eighths. And this works because 4 and 8 are both in the 4 times table, aren't they? So let's have a little look. 4 times 2. So look, I've doubled that number. I've multiplied it by 2. So if I do the same to the top, do you remember just what we were doing with equivalent fractions? If I multiply that one by 2 as well, I will get 6/8. Now I can compare these fractions because they're both written in eighths. 3/4 I know is worth 6/8. This fraction here is worth 5/8. So therefore 6/8, this greedy crocodile has come again, is greater than 5/8. You should really go back and write the fraction in its original form if you were listing it, but I think setting it out like that is fine. It clearly shows you're working out. So when you're comparing your fractions, try to make your denominators the same using what you know about equivalent fractions. And I will just prove this to you with the equipment just to show you. Here was my 3/4. Okay, you can see that there. But there we are, 3/4. You can imagine this is something nice, I don't know. Whatever you like, a nice pizza or something. And these are eighths. Can't really see on there, but I promise you these are eighths. Here we are.
Ooh,
well,
there's 4/8.
There's 4/8, which was the half. And here's the 5/8. I mean, hopefully you can see. Actually, perhaps if I put it up here, that makes it a little bit more obvious. There's my fraction. Put that up. Nope, have it the right way around. There's my 5/8. You can see that the 3/4 is bigger. Here we are. If I just added another one in, that's 6/8, which is actually equivalent to 3/4. But hopefully that shows you that this method does work. All right, so there we are. You can see that the 3/4 is greater than the 5/8. So what we'd like you to do, and I think Mrs. Ford is going to explain this to you.
Okay,
So this is the work. I'll just move it over so you can see it a little bit better.
Is to work out which fraction is larger. Which one would you rather have if you're wanting the most of something? And if it's food, no, I'd want the most. So which is larger, 1/2 or 3/4? That might be one that you can visualise in your head, or you might want to make your denominators the same. Get that greedy crocodile eating the biggest one, and then have a little go at these over here. Compare these fractions, and it shows you sometimes the fractions may be equal. So we can use the equal sign, or we can use our greater than or less than, using our greedy crocodile to help us. You will need to pause the video so that you can write these out into your book using your squares. If you're feeling confident, if these are a little bit easy, you might want to have a look at these. So these are for the more confident people, Mrs. Stubbs groups. You may want to have a go at these over here. They're a little bit more tricky, a bit harder to visualise. Let's have a go at these first. You need to write greater than, less than or equals in the box. So you'll need to write these out into your maths book. Beautifully, neatly, please.
And just, sorry, can I just,
of course,
if I just interrupt, sometimes you might need to come up with a completely different denominator. So if we look here, you've got 5 for this denominator, 8 for this denominator. Well, I can't really make that one into eighths, and it would be hard to make this one into fifths. So can you come up with a denominator that would work for fifths and eighths? It's going to be a number that's in the 5 times table and the 8 times table. It's a common denominator. I mean, if you can, find the lowest one because it'll be simpler, but look for a common denominator. What number can you think of is in the 5 times table and the 8 times table? So you'll have to come up with 2 new equivalent fractions here to compare them.
Brilliant challenge there, Mrs. Stubbs, thank you. And here we are, some more over here where you may need to do the same thing. Good luck, Year 6. Always look in the description on the video to either see a challenge or some websites that may help you. Well done.